It is Wednesday, the 18th of October, 2017. I'm standing in front of the Centre Sportif de Notre-Dame-de-Grace, where there will be a debate between the candidates for mayor of NDG Côte-des-Neiges tonight, coming up. And I am essentially protesting against the fact that the Projet Montreal candidate for mayor, Sue Montgomery, also a Montréal Unitarian, is essentially complicit in the fact that the larger Unitarian Universalist religious community has attempted to misuse Canada's blasphemy law in clergy, sex abuse, cover-up and denial of legal bullying, which seeks to conceal, cover up and deny what the Unitarian Universalist Association's Canadian attorney, Stikeman Elliott Barristers and Solicitors Litigation Lawyer, Maitre Marc-André Coulombe, describes as such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape. Sue may not be directly involved in that. In fact, I have very little reason to believe that she's directly involved in the Unitarian Universalist Association's decision to hire Maitre Coulombe to falsely accuse me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and legal bullying intended to hide pedophilia and rape committed by not only Unitarian Universalist ministers, but Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers and ordinary lay people. But she knows about it. She's known about it for a long time. She's known about it since at least December of 2012. And I have asked her to report on this egregious misuse of Canada's blasphemy law in her capacity as the Gazette's justice reporter. Sue Montgomery is no longer the Gazette's justice reporter. She accepted a buyout from Post Media about a month after I protested against her complicity in Unitarian Universalist cover-up and denial in January of 2015. But nonetheless, she is most certainly guilty of essentially the following. This is a very, very truthful statement. Whoops, got the picket sign upside down. I'll just flip it over so it's the correct orientation. So this is a picket sign that I actually have displayed as long ago as December of 2014. And it says, helpless children have been raped by Unitarian Universalist ministers and Sunday school teachers but the Gazette's justice reporter, Sue Montgomery, never reported the Unitarian Universalist Association's misuse of blasphemy law and clergy abuse, cover-up, legal bullying. So that is a very, very truthful statement, totally truthful. Sue Montgomery, in spite of being asked to do so, never reported on the fact that her religious community had falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel and legal bullying, which sought to intimidate me into removing blog posts that tell the truth about Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell and First Parish Norwell parishioner Richard Buell, both of whom were charged, tried, and convicted of rape. In the case of Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, what he was convicted of is he lured away from the safety of their families in India some teenage Tibetan refugees. He essentially promised them a better life in America. No doubt he got the parents' permission to do this. So he essentially told the parents of these teenage Tibetan refugees that if they gave their daughters into his care, that he would take them back to America and he would take them under his wing and that he would ensure that they got a good education, maybe even got U.S. citizenship, that sort of thing. And then he proceeded to repeatedly rape them. In one case, in a period measured in some years. I'm not sure how long the other cases were. But the most serious case was a young teenage Tibetan refugee who he brought to Massachusetts when she was, I believe, 16, and he repeatedly sexually exploited her over a period measured in several years until she finally ran away. And then she reported the sexual abuse, the rapes, and so on to members of Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell's congregation in Massachusetts. He actually had two congregations. One was the Westboro congregation, the other was the Northboro congregation. I'm not sure which one. I do know, but I just can't remember specifically. I'm pretty sure it was it doesn't really matter which. It's one or the other of these congregations. The teenagers, well, by that time she was in her early 20s, I believe, when she finally ran away and reported the rapes. She reported this to 4 or 5, I believe, female members of the church, I believe leading members.
Our front door,
I'm protesting against Sue Montgomery's complicity in Unitarian Universalist cover-up of pedophilia and rape. So this guy doesn't seem to be too happy about my picket signs. I think I'm in my rights. I'm on public property. We're at the Centre Sportif de Notre-Dame-de-Grace. So this is public property. It's not private property, so I should be okay. But we'll see. I might have to move to the sidewalk. But for the time being, we'll just stay here. And so this guy's calling somebody and reporting my protest. Could be the police. And we'll see what happens with that. Anyhow, getting back to Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell, to make a long story short, these women decided that the best thing to do was to report, these allegations of rape to the police. They did so, and as a result of that, Reverend Mac Wallace Mitchell was charged, tried, and convicted of the forcible rape and even the unnatural rape of teenage Tibetan refugees, and sentenced to a jail term of 8 years. And I believe he served 4 years of that 8-year jail term. And anyhow, that's Richard Buell. That's Mac Wallace Mitchell. Richard Buell was good day. Richard Buell was a parishioner, First Parish in Norwell, and he was charged, tried, and convicted of raping preteen girls, including a female family member and a neighbor's daughter. These girls were no older than 12 years old at the times that the rapes took place. Could have been as young as 6 years old at the times that the rapes took place. That makes him a pedophile rapist. That's the term I use to describe him. And he was charged, tried, and convicted. And I believe he died in jail. So that's the two cases that I blogged about, both very truthful cases. I'm protesting against a problem with one of the candidates. So, for mayor of your city. It's 2 columns going down, like a newspaper column. What?
I don't understand what you're saying.
What I'm saying is that Sue Montgomery, who is the candidate for Projet Montreal for mayor of NDG, in her capacity as the Gazette's justice reporter, refused to report on the fact that the Unitarian Universalist, the religious community, falsely accused me of the criminal act of blasphemous libel in legal bullying intended to hide pedophilia and rape. She's a member of...
Accused.
What? I was accused in a legal letter.
Oh.
It was total bullshit. They were just trying to get me to remove blog posts and stuff. It was completely false. I've never been charged. I've never been convicted. I won't be. But the point being is Sue Montgomery, who's running to be mayor, knew about this and has never spoken out against it, and so on. So I think it's a bit of a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So this guy understands, and yeah. So I just want the voters to know this. I'm trying to get it reported in the newspapers, but so far no luck. So good day, sir. Feel free to take as many photos. Feel free to put that on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. No, I'm serious. I want the more people to know this, the better. So, anyhow, let's make sure these signs are being seen. And anyhow, so we'll see what happens. It's possible that a few police officers will show up to have a little chat with me about this, and if needs be, I'll move to the sidewalk. But with any luck, I should be able to stay here. I do believe I'm well within my rights to be here in my protest. So anyhow, there's more to this than just the fact that Sue Montgomery, in her capacity as the Gazette's justice reporter, refused to investigate and report on her religion's immoral and unethical and borderline criminal and, quite frankly, insane attempted misuse of Canada's blasphemy law and legal bullying. So apparently someone is complaining about the vulgarity of my signs. Well, I can't really, you know, I'm talking about pedophilia and rape. I mean, I suppose I could use, you know, even if I said child sex abuse, I mean, that would still be relatively vulgar. Even if I said just clergy abuse, that would still be moderately vulgar. And I'm trying to, you know, get right to the point here. So, but that's, they're concerned about the, you know, vulgarity. Well, what they should be concerned about is the fact that their mayoralty candidate, at least one of them, is, you know, basically complicit in the cover-up and denial of these, yes, indeed, incredibly vulgar things. So, you know, basically, I wouldn't be here protesting if Sue Montgomery had spoken up against pedophilia and rape and so on, but she never did, and she still hasn't. To the best of my knowledge, in spite of being fully aware of this for pretty well 3 years now, if not longer, Sue Montgomery, no, wait a minute, not 3 years, we're going back to 2012 actually. It's more like 5 years that Sue Montgomery has been aware of this and has never at any time, to the best of my knowledge, spoken out against it in any way. So as far as I'm concerned, she is guilty of complicit silence at minimum. There is more to that, as I was saying. The Unitarian Church of Montreal in 2007 sought to have a restraining order brought against me in order to shut down my protest in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal. And what they did is Reverend Diane Rollert and some other members of the church, including Sue Montgomery, filed depositions with the police, you know, claiming to be very, very frightened of me. You know, they claimed that they thought that their physical safety was endangered and so on, which is really questionable considering, you know, nobody had, you know, been hurt at all in the almost decade I'd been protesting by that time. I'd never made any threats against anyone of any kind of physical violence and so on. So they really had, you know, virtually no grounds to be claiming to be very, very frightened of me, but they nonetheless did that. So this was a misuse of the criminal justice system in an effort to, you know, get rid of my protest, and Sue Montgomery participated in that. And so I consider this to be anti-democratic. I consider it to be a complete lack of respect for charter rights and freedoms, and that's actually the main reason why I don't believe Sue Montgomery is suited to be the mayor of Côte-des-Neiges Notre-Dame-de-Grace borough of Montreal or any other Canadian municipality. I think she's pretty well disqualified herself from running for public office anywhere in the country for any reason whatsoever in light of this complete disrespect for charter rights and freedoms and so on, to say nothing of being totally complicit in her religious community's attempts to conceal such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers and Sunday school teachers, etc. So we are here to let the public know about Sue Montgomery's integrity problems. I overheard you being concerned about the vulgarity. Unfortunately, this is a truthful statement, and I'm protesting against Sue Montgomery's complicity in it. I'm talking to her. I'm not talking to you. No, as I overheard, she was talking about the vulgarity of my signs. It's very unfortunate, but I'm dealing with some serious stuff here. Oh. Hello.
You need to get a life.
I have a life. Okay, you're being sarcastic. Thank you. For a second, I've had a lot of Unitarians say that, my friend. So that's Russell Copeman, who's the current mayor of NDG, and he was basically joking. He was joking, and that's kind of nice. That's a nice touch, because because a lot of Montreal Unitarians have said this to me. You need to get a life, and you got to stop protesting against our clergy abuse cover-up and denial, and so on and so forth. And he could have been serious. He could have been basically doing the same thing, but I think he was clear. And I said, you're being sarcastic, right? And he came back, yes. So I'll take his word for it, that he was indeed being sarcastic. I think he understands that, I'm dealing with some serious issues here. And, I actually did bring this to the attention of pretty much everyone attending the June City Council meeting of the City of Montreal. There's a public questions period. I actually quite often ask questions during that public questions period. So I raised the issue of Sue Montgomery's false accusation of libel against me, because she did eventually get around to falsely accusing me of